Hey everybody, this is Nate from Original Freedom. If you're a fan of the show and want to hear more from Scott and Tom Spooner, including their transformational program Crushing the Cage, check out Original Freedom Thrive at ogfree.com/thrive.
Mic check, 1, 2.
Tom, use your word.
Hey, you.
That's Original Freedom.
What's up, everybody? This is Nate Horgan and Scott Spooner here on the Original Freedom podcast. And today we are located in Rock Hill, South Carolina, closely associated with Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're here today at an amazing shop, beautiful company, Core Autosports, and with our good friend Morgan Brady. Morgan, thanks so much for having us and giving us your time, showing us around the place today. I told Nate on the way here that this is the most excited I've been for a fucking podcast. And I just want everyone that's listening to know it. It's because I have such respect for you as a businessman and as an entrepreneur. We've known each other now, I guess, going on 4 years. And in that short period of time, what I've done is learn from you so much, and really also just been in your sidecar of a lot of your success along the way. And on the Original Freedom podcast, you know, not our slogan, it's not our tagline, it's what we're here for, is to help facilitate the creation of more powerful humans. And to what's possible, expanding what's possible for them and their lives. And there's, you know, my belief system here, you have a story of absolute guts, adversity, failure, learning, massive success, fatherhood, you know, being a young lad to being a husband, to starting a family. And in the midst of doing all that, create one massively successful company, and also then take the reins of a sister company, run both of them at the same time for a bit, and now manage to get it manageable to where you're at, really buckling down on one and taking a win, turn into investment, and reaching again. Also, when a time you could have gotten super soft and said, hey, I got a big win, you reached again. So I know that's a lot for everyone to take on board, but that kind of also gives you what you're about to get. You're going to get a guy's story that is going to be raw. It's going to be his absolute truth. And I can say that because I love this man like a brother as well. And he's one of my truth tellers in life. He's someone I go to for advice, someone I go to couch my business ideas with. So there's no doubt that everyone is going to get a lot out of what you have to share. And with that, I'm going to end this god-awful monologue and turn it over to you to let you tell us in your way, your version of your story and how it is you got on your path to where you are now.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And Nate, thrilled to have you guys here. We're sitting in our conference room, as Scott said, that has some of our winnings along the way, and it's been equally cool for me to see you birth Original Freedom, right? See that come from just a phone call that says, "Hey man, I got an idea," to be sitting here on the podcast. Listen to some of the previous episodes. We've been talking about this one for a while, and really interested to kind of see where we go today.
You've had a lot of experience in life. Geographically, in business, you've parlayed a winning racing career into a winning manufacturing career. There's a good bit of meat in your story around each one of these transition points in your life, as you walk down this path that ultimately led you to here. So if you would just, go through a middle highs and lows and teach us along the way.
Sure. Yeah, for me, life got started, born and raised Northern New Jersey, super proud of it. And I don't really know what drove me to, but I was always interested in business, and I just wanted to work. I just wanted to work hard. I think I liked freedom, right? Something you guys are all about. Yeah. And, before the rest of my friends, I didn't have to have anybody explain to me that there was a connection between having a couple coins in your pocket and having some freedom,
Yeah.
right? So like I wanted to work. I wasn't really too interested in going to college, but along the way, got my driver's license, got really into working on cars, enjoyed working with my hands. Didn't really want to go to college. I thought the construction thing, I thought that was my deal. My parents said, all right, just humor us, right? Just go to college,
Yeah.
right? Or sorry, not even go, but just apply to one college, right?
Take a swing, kid.
Right. They set the bar super low.
Yeah.
And they knew it was a bit of a scam because they knew I would get in, right?
Yeah,
I had
of course.
decent grades
Yeah.
and stuff, but I wasn't too interested in it. So I applied. I was really into snowboarding at the time, and I applied to University of Vermont because I liked snowboarding, right? I figured if I got to go to college, at least I could go snowboarding. I applied to University of Vermont, get in straight away. And I applied for engineering because I felt like engineering, it was somewhat, I was very into, and again, at a young age, like very into taking things apart, take them apart, put them back together. And I think at a lot of levels, like if you understand how to take things apart, when you go to build something, maybe if it's a company, you understand what those pieces are. So, all right, I finally get into college, go to one college, University of Vermont, and really I didn't do well my first 2 years because I didn't see a connection, right, of what this was going to do for me. I didn't know what it was going to do for me. And, really needed that connection of, what's the reward here? And so I failed out twice. I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
Failed out twice on grades. And
It's just strictly because there was no relevancy.
No relevance.
This is not going to get me that, so this is not important. I get that.
And I think it was really, what changed for me is, I realized I have this interest in cars, right? Ever since I had my license, I had this interest in taking things apart, playing around with cars, trucks. And I don't know why it didn't click sooner, but all of a sudden I was like, hey, I could take this education that I'm getting and, somehow combine what I'm passionate about and what I'm learning. And there's a career path there. And for me, it originally it was around maybe working on road cars, on street cars, like going to work for a big OEM, right? A big automotive manufacturer.
Yeah.
Maybe do some R&D type stuff. I didn't want to do production work, but I thought R&D testing, that's kind of cool. But it was about the same time that I got into racing and like deep into racing. Like, wait a second, I'm into racing recreationally. I'm into cars and I'm going to school. This is it.
Trifecta.
This is it, right?
Yeah.
And I could probably earn a decent living.
Yep.
So you put those together, and next thing you know, I start getting straight A's. Did well for the remainder of college, and made it through.
All right.
Yeah.
So you the cool things that I heard so far that are big was until you aligned passion with the learning didn't matter. That's what I heard. Essentially, it really didn't matter. And I think that's just an important thing to point out. I think folks lose sight of that. Just go get an education. It's like, why? What education? What focus? Because you said it, you didn't do well until you cared. And so just a big thing around that piece, around the passion. And it was interesting. The last thing you said was, and I can make a decent living at it. You didn't say, let me go find a way to make a living. You aligned passion, it came last.
Yeah, and that's where when a lot of people, if I get somebody coming to me, at this point, okay, maybe some people come to me, they think, hey, what do you think I should do? Right? Somebody whether you're at high school age, college age, or you're 40 trying to make a job transition. And, kind of where I steer people is like, okay, if you have these three bubbles of something you're interested in, something you're good at, and something you could make money at, right? What's the overlap of those three?
The Venn diagram.
The Venn diagram, right? Where do those three bubbles overlap? That's where you should put your focus, right? Because then you're going to get fulfillment because you enjoy it, make a little bit of money, hopefully you're good at it too.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. See if it aligns with Jim Collins' book, "Good to Great." Right, the one of the theories makes it from a good to a great idea was that one, you have passion for it. Two, the margins are there, and three, you can compete with or be the best in the industry. Right,
There you go.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, close parallel.
Yeah, really cool. So then I know you ended up at some point out of college and on a race team out in California. If you can take us through that journey.
Yeah, sure. So, I was just hell bent, and I think that's another theme for me throughout my career. Once I've picked a direction on something, like it's happening.
Yeah.
No matter what sets me off that course, no matter how many times I get denied on something, like this is happening. And so, and another thing is like doing deep research, right? So it's like, okay, I'm a senior in college. I want to get a job on a race team, right? Like I figured out the email address of like every team manager out there, right? And so finally I get a job in California, fly out to California, sight unseen, pop everything in the car, head out there, sight unseen. And I start working for this small race team. And, Nate and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, but the beauty there was, working for a small organization, I got to touch everything that was going on. At this point I say like, I did everything except driving the truck, and, really learned a lot of skills along the way, that helped me day by day today. So, small race team in kind of a junior IndyCar type of series, and an amazing mentor there with Shane Seneviratna, who's still in the business today, still a close friend, but really took me under his wing, and he appreciated this attention to detail, right? So it was like carrying a skill that I had, carrying that skill forward, applied again the attention to detail, and just a willingness to do whatever needed to get done. I don't know if I had a job description. Yeah. That's another thing for me. Like, I don't know if I've ever had a job description anywhere I've been. If I have had one, I've never cared. Yeah. Right. And I see a lot of people today, that are really boxed in by their job description.
Yeah. It's out of my lane. Sorry, Bob, that's out of my lane.
Right. I don't know what a lane is.
It's out of my purview.
Yeah, I don't know what a lane is. And if it's like, for the people that are out there, hey, I want to get a promotion or something, like, what if you just started doing some of that stuff right now? Yeah.
Acting as if.
Act as if. Yeah. And if you want to get that promotion, you want to know what to do when you get there. Yeah. Why not start? Yep. And if I look at people that I've promoted along the way, they've definitely followed that same theme.
How many years ago were you out? When you started out in California on the smaller race team?
From now?
Yeah, how many years ago was that?
We're talking 15 plus. 15
All right, so 15 years there. Yeah. And how many years you do there?
That was about 4 years, right? So 3 to 4 years of kind of learning the ropes, and next thing you know, team manager quit, and I was working for the team owner, and the team owner's like, hey, we don't have anybody else, and you're kind of already doing the job. Why don't you do the job? And spent the time there, but one of the things that happened there is ultimately like that the team, not so much from the way the team operated, but the business model was not financially stable. Right. And ultimately that
winning team, losing money model.
Right. Right. There's plenty of businesses that can relate to that. But that was team number one that was ultimately financially unstable, that caused it to kind of shutter. So had enough of that. We're in kind of financial recession time period, 2008 or so, which was not a shiny period for racing, and moved to the UK. Again, set this lofty goal for myself. First lofty goal was just get a job in racing, right? Yeah. And then next is, hey, if I'm going to be in racing, I want to be at the absolute highest level. And what we were doing, Formula One. right? So you want to be in Formula One, you got to move to England. Move to England, go to grad school. While I'm there,
What type of grad school?
this was a master's in motorsport specific engineering.
Only place in the world, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
right, that
I
offers
think
this
I
degree?
think there's a few programs now, but
but back then,
right, one of maybe one or two programs.
Yeah.
In this
pretty
specific,
niche.
right, right. And the school was a big feeder school to Formula One, and I thought Formula One was just the coolest thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there, and while I'm there, I didn't necessarily see England as a place I wanted to spend eternity, but I was willing to do it, to be in Formula One. And again, this is making a big commitment, right? It's sell everything you have, move to another country, sight unseen, just doing it. That's that.
He's describing himself right now. He left that part of the story out, and I knew it.
Yeah.
He sold everything, moved to England, got into one-of-a-kind program, all because you're going to race in Formula One.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything. All in.
Not personally racing, but working. Working as an engineer in Formula One. But it's kind of you set a lofty goal, and then you just...
I'd commend you on that. The survivability factors and then career length as a non-driver, it's more so owning the team. I applaud your direction.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So while I'm there, did work for a couple little teams, but at the same time, there was a team starting up in the U.S., a Formula One team in the U.S., which was first of its kind.
Right.
Oh, fantastic. I could live in the U.S. and do Formula One and everything I wanted, right?
Yeah.
Everything I thought I wanted.
Yep.
More clearly stated.
Yeah.
With today's vision. And so again, sell everything, moved to Charlotte where this team was starting. Move sight unseen. Maybe I came over for an interview. I don't think I'd even been to Charlotte before. And
how'd you get that job?
That was another example of, just persistence, I would say. Just like when I tried to get my first job in racing, it's sending in the resume, but then it's calling, it's following up, it's connecting with somebody else that's there, it's working your network, and just being persistent.
I just figure it wasn't like an easy thing. You're in the UK.
Yeah.
The US is going to have one Formula One team.
Yeah.
And from over there, you managed to get hired here. So, I mean, it was like...
It took a few phone calls for sure. Yeah. So moved to Charlotte, and, first day on the job, I could tell, there were some problems there. We were from a technical standpoint on a timeline, way behind to be ready for the first race. And soon enough, probably within 8 weeks, this team financially was unstable. And they kind of furloughed everybody, but hey, it was done. So now I'm in Charlotte and I'm unemployed, right? And went from, what I thought was my dream job, thought I had landed my dream job in the US, to kind of unemployed and a lot of free time.
Like
definitely unemployed.
You were unemployed. You
Yeah.
had no job.
No job.
New car.
Because it's my dream job, right?
Of course. So blow it out.
Yeah, new car, nice apartment, right? No job.
No job.
Yeah.
Race car team number 3 goes bankrupt.
Right.
And this one you had now cashed out in England, sold everything there, moved here. Now you're in Charlotte. Got a master's degree that will get you into Formula One.
Right.
And then one Formula One racing team in the U.S. that just hired you went bankrupt. How you feeling right now? In that moment.
Yeah. Frustrated. Definitely frustrated. I had a lot of free time. But I think, looking back on it, I was able to shift pretty quickly, and I think that's definitely been a thing for me of, it's not how you get knocked down, it's how you stand back up.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, got knocked down, pop right back up. And, I haven't thought about this for a long time, but thinking back on it, I immediately was back on the horse. Like, okay, what are the teams in the U.S.? If I can't do Formula One, what's the next highest level? What are those team managers' email address? How do I get in touch with these people? How do I work my network to get a job? But I spent my time in two other places. One other place was I taught myself managerial accounting, because what I identified, going through 3 teams that were run financially poorly.
Yeah.
I said to myself, okay, I'm an engineer, but if I'm ever going to get to do what I love, which is racing and engineering, if I'm ever in that position again, I'm going to make sure the business side is really being run well, run properly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I taught myself managerial accounting, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, money coming in, money going out. How do you keep track of it? Turns out it's pretty simple, right? For
for some people, maybe.
Right.
The fact you said you taught yourself that, I'm like, okay, continue.
It was like, all right. So it was a boring couple weeks, but yeah.
That's impressive.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Sarcasm aside, it's pretty damn impressive.
Right. So these are the kind of things like, you gotta make the commitment, right? And it comes from in here, right? I've heard you talk about on the podcast, right? And in some of your courses, right? Like, you can give people the tools for themselves,
Sure,
to become more powerful.
Yeah.
Right. You say it better than I do, but
Well, I mean, it's essentially the facilitation of possibility. That it's like, I don't help anyone, I don't change anyone, you don't help or change anyone. All we can do is offer our experience and or tools that are experience based that will produce an outcome that's positive because we've lived it.
Yeah.
Yet absent the work, fucking that and $5 will hook you up at Starbucks, right?
right. Right. So.
Morgan, the one thing that I see a trend in is at no point throughout, even that's kind of an early part of your story even, but there's a lot of, you put it, getting knocked down, and at no point do I hear you feeling sorry for yourself in any of those scenarios. Can you talk a little bit to that, as far as even that your most recent experience that you shared, as far as the Formula One, and then it doesn't exist in the US, and at no point was it like, damn, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have come back here, I shouldn't, you just got up and kept going. What kind of went into that? To me, it seems like it's a more natural thing, but speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, and I wish I had some magic for you on there, but that's part, I think that is a gene for me, where I just don't have a rear view mirror. It's hey, we're going forward, and I think it's okay. Learn a quick lesson, but we're looking ahead.
Wow.
I think the quicker you can do that, the faster you're going to move forward.
You end up back here. You got
Right.
time on your hands. You spend it at 2 places. One, you taught yourself a little bit of team level accounting.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Taught myself accounting. That was just thrilling.
Yeah.
And then spent some time in the gym. Right. So that was part of, I think kind of,
Had your mind, body there.
Yeah.
You go to church too?
Right. Gotta get, get
You're
your
missing
body
the
right.
third stop.
Get your mind. Yeah. Get your mind right. But I was in the gym and I was wearing a racing t-shirt, and this kind of unassuming guy comes over to me, says, hey, you a race fan? Right. And we're in Charlotte, right, which is a big NASCAR, really the hub of NASCAR.
Yeah.
And so I think, and when I tell people that in racing that I'm in NASCAR, when I tell people who don't know that I'm in racing, everybody thinks I'm in NASCAR, right?
Right.
I'm not in NASCAR. I'm now in sports car racing. So here's another guy. He wants to talk about NASCAR. Turns out he doesn't, right? I said, well, I'm not really a fan, but I work in the industry as a team manager. He just says, I'm John Bennett, and I want to start a race team in Charlotte. oh, okay, right? Okay.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Tell me more. Yeah. So, he says, we didn't have a lot of time. He said, here's my card. I'm going to, write your number on it. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I think I am never going to hear from this guy again, right? Guy calls me up. He said, hey, why don't you come down to my manufacturing company and, we can kind of talk there. And the name of the company is Composite Resources, right? So I'm like, okay, right? I'm kind of scratching my head. Is this guy serious? And, so I come down to his facility here in Rock Hill, and he gives me this tour. And I mean, it is the same tour you guys got an hour ago.
Yep.
It's this pristine 55,000 square feet of composite manufacturing, doing high level aerospace defense work. We get the tour and we finish. He says, yeah, I started this business in my garage 20 years ago. We chat for a little bit.
Yeah.
He gives me kind of his concept for what a race team is. And I just said, man, I don't know you. But if you can go from your garage to this, I'm in.
Yeah.
We'll figure the rest out. Right. And so, again, it's taking a big leap, right. And be willing to take that leap. And, there's a healthy component of luck in there, right. To make this connection. But then it's also being open to an opportunity.
Sure.
When it comes in front of you. So, it's like, okay, you want to start a race team? Like, great. Do you have a car? No. Do you have a truck? No. Do you have a screwdriver? No. So nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. So yeah, as you say, sits me down, laptop, office, bank account, fortunately, and we went to work. And that's for anybody out there that's starting their own business, they know what that feeling
Sure.
is right. Little lonely, not sure where you start, right? So, all right, let's make a list. What do we need? We need some people, we need some stuff, we need a plan.
Screwdrivers, cars, all the stuff you asked about.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything. But again, it comes back to having this good foundation. And, John Bennett to me has been, an amazing first boss, then friend, now business partner, which we'll get to. And we've been on really amazing ride together. So 2010 was our first season, and we started out, he himself was racing. And we started out kind of in a junior formula and came up with a plan of where we really felt confident we could win the championship, which we did in 2010, right off the bat. Which allowed us kind of some recognition to take the next step, competing in the American Le Mans series at the time. So, for some of your listeners, we're talking about, so the year's 2011, American Le Mans series was really known as, really top level sports car racing in North America. It's since transitioned. It now operates under the IMSA banner. But at the time that was top level sports car racing in the US, and we're in it in year two, not necessarily competing in the top class, but went on to win as a privateer multiple back-to-back championships. That's a very quick ride from zero to semi-amateur kind of championship, to really building out this whole organization.
So really success at any level is success. I mean, that's a thrill, I'm sure. And for you guys to do it in your first year is a huge accomplishment, at that level. But like, what would take me through the emotions of that? I mean, as far as like really your first shot at it, and then there you go, and you kind of achieve that tier of success. What was that kind of like for you guys?
Yeah, I think, I can only speak for myself, but I guess you talked, coming back to your question about like getting knocked down, right? I think for me, that was my way of like dealing with getting knocked down, of losing my dream job, right? I just poured everything I had into making that team successful. Like that was my way of dealing with it, was just going, super hard at a tough goal with no deviation from achieving that outcome. And, I think for me along the way, like I was pretty greedy, right? So we won our first championship and I was like, hey, that was nice, right? Let's go to that next level, and progressing the team. And I think what we did really, really well, and what I credit us, we're talking about my story here, but I just want to be super clear that this is a team. I mean, we have a ton of just amazing, super talented, best in the industry people here, that I love and enjoy working with every day. But what our biggest advantage was, and this is, this connects to anybody out there who's starting a business from scratch, is you're not bound by your past. You're not bound by, I'd worked on a lot of teams previously where, I come up with a better idea and you tell me, well, this is just the way we've always done it. We didn't have a way that we always did it. And so everything we were doing, we were like fresh, like, hey, what's the best possible way we could do this? And then because you weren't attached to an idea to begin with, you're not attached to your initial idea. So then you are really prone to tuning it each and every race, getting better, in this theme of constant improvement, where we can win a race and still come back, sit around this table and come up with 20 ways to do it better the following weekend.
I think something too that Scott, Tom have talked a lot about is kind of going through the progression. If it's climbing a ladder or something like that, that you're the new guy, at each level typically, and kind of going through that. And I think just kind of while we're on that segment of your guys' story, what was it like to, after year one, you guys have success and then go up to that next level again and kind of reset, and then, obviously work through it and get to more wins and success and that kind of stuff. What was it like to kind of reset and be that new guy at that next level as you guys continued to rise up?
Yeah, I think that's like the chip on the shoulder advantage, right? Like, hey, I know people are kind of watching and skeptical. And I think for me, like the bigger the challenge, right, the more I'm going to engage, the more I'm going to try and really, put that effort in. And so for me, it's like, well, the stakes got higher. That just means I'm going to, go at it even harder. And I liked that time. And I mean, I'm getting nostalgic. Like I miss that, right? And that's a lot, once we get closer to present tense, like, that's a lot of what I'm thinking about for the future is like, hey, what's an even bigger thing we could do, a bigger risk that we could take, with some of the newer stuff that we're doing. I miss that. Yeah.
So that takes us into your first few wins, but then take us back overseas again.
Yeah. So, I guess, segueing for what Nate was saying there, we win a couple things, right? But then we're not the new guys anymore, right? So what is that next level? And coming back to, a bit of my programming, right? I've always wanted, trying to figure out what is that next challenge, and the bigger the challenge, the more I'm motivated by. In our sport, a lot of automotive manufacturers, they don't run their own teams. They contract people like us to run their team. And that, to me, that was the next level. That's what I wanted. And I wanted it just for the pure sporting challenge of it, but then circling back to this theme around running a financially stable organization. There's really only three ways to make money in racing. There's sponsorship, which is you see the sticker on the race car, right? And even the top teams in NASCAR find that challenging. And I quickly said, hey, if they can't do it, why can we do it? The other way is you have sort of what's known as a funded driver, right? So maybe one of the guys that's driving the car, he can bring some money, which is not uncommon in our sport. And that's a lot of what we were doing. That was sort of our business model. But I quickly saw that wasn't sustainable, and not wanting to make the same mistake as my previous employers, I said that the only way that we can make money is by having an association with an automotive manufacturer where we handle the real, they do the development, we do the going racing. Now we're in time periods 2012, right? So won a couple championships. I do a study of the whole automotive industry. Who is going to run a factory program that might want to hire our company? And I do my research. I come up with 3 brands. I start just, how do I get in touch with these brands? Who do I know there? How can I connect with these people? And in motorsport, the way I explain it is like your industry has a trade show every 2 weeks, and your product competes with everybody else's product, and there's a very clear winner every weekend. That is the racing industry.
Wow. That's perspective.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
So not unlike our trade show, at a race weekend, you can network quite a bit and get in touch with different people. But I identified Porsche. I kind of got wind that it was 2012 at the time. In 2014, they were going to have a factory program. So again, I have this very, very clear direction, fairly lofty goal, and hey, we got a new one. We're going for it.
We're going for Porsche.
We're going for another ride. And there's a big any of your fans that watch sports car racing. There's a big race in Le Mans, France, 24 Hours of Le Mans. So I knew they'd be there. Thought that'd be a good place to connect with them. Get a lukewarm intro from a contact of mine. Okay, fine. You can meet them at their suite, and they'll give you 5 minutes, and knock on the door. So it's me and John Bennett, and I wouldn't say it patted me on the head, but it was like, okay, kid.
You're cute.
Yeah, who are you?
We
again?
like your spirit.
Yeah. And the CEO of Porsche Motorsport North America still gives me a hard time. We had made a very nice brochure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shiny.
Oh yeah, 1-page slick.
Yeah. And but again, it's just doing the things that you have control over, doing them 100%, right? I didn't have much, but that's what I had, and I did it 100%, right? Yeah. And it left just enough of an impression that, a couple races later, I follow up with them, and just really persistent enough that, fast forward, we're mid 2013 now, and, they throw out a tender to several teams to bid on the program, and we were persistent enough, and it was a lot of just listening to what their needs were. I think a lot of times when people go to sell something, they're focused on selling what they want to sell, right? So I think a lot of times when they look for sponsorship, they're like, hey, we need money. We can put your sticker on our car, right? Or, really selling anything. You've created a product. Don't sell what you're selling. Sell what people are buying. Yeah. And the only way you can sell what people are buying is to really listen to what their needs are. And I think that's what we did well with Porsche. What's important about this program? What does success look like for you? That's a lot. What we talk about with the manufacturing business is understanding what does success look like for our customer, and how we can achieve that. So 2014, we were awarded the contract with Porsche, and straight out of the gate, we win 24 hours of Daytona, 12 hours of Sebring, and go on to win the championship in 2014. which was just, that was a real highlight for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, really, just the quick highlight reel in there. That's why, one of the many reasons you impressed me is like the guy just talked about going from failing out of college to parlaying a passion into education to going for broke on the West Coast to going for broke in England, back to Charlotte, going for broke again, literally ended up broke, meet a guy in a gym, and now you just told me a story about getting the contract with Porsche and winning out of the gate, right? It's nuts, bro. Like you sit there and you
when you
talk
put it
about
that way,
it.
yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's how I see you. I don't even think it's like, and you're so dead. For most times, fucking Brady's Brady. He's like deadpan. This is what we got. What we call it's like Spooner, Brady, boom, bullet points, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving the story in bullet point, and like I said, if I give my bullet point version, that you were just like, wow, yeah, that kind of happened. And I also bring that up as like, success just didn't happen. You created it, and fuck luck. I'm not gonna. You can have luck if you want. For me, it doesn't exist, right?
Sure.
You created it. This goes back to more powerful humans. You said it was so because you said so, and that's it. No one else was saying so.
Yeah.
You said so. And when I look at the brand that is globally known, Porsche Racing, right? And you tripped me out whenever I found out that you did everything. When I say your team, Core Autosports, provides everything except the driver.
Yeah.
Right? I had no idea that model exists. And then what that meant to me, just insta credibility to your organization, because like kind of funny to me that Porsche doesn't own and control that, yet they trust you at the end of the day. Like, that's huge, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like, and to be fair, I mean, they are, they're highly involved with the program, but it's a big, and it's something we really talk about here, right? We are, that next chapter in Porsche's racing history, and it's a real, every time you put the shirt on, it's a real responsibility, and we're glad to be good custodians.
Absolutely.
That
well, that's the weight of that brand,
right?
When you put it on, it's like, woo, that comes
it's a heavy
weight.
shirt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you went on to get the contract renewed.
Yeah.
3 years later, right?
So we're really in, we're several years into this, and we're on for the next couple of years, and it's really what turned into, oh my gosh, I can't believe we got the contract. Oh my gosh, we won a race to we won a championship to, I think we're on year 7 of this. And it's still the same things that made us good in the beginning of, not being too tied into past procedures,
sure,
right? Past ways of operations, always keeping it fresh. It's like strong beliefs loosely held, right? So this worked for us before, but what circumstances have changed? That's not working now. How do we be better?
That falls right in alignment of the simple model of, hey, they don't call them art of truths, they call them artifacts. The facts are in the past. The truth is relative to individual and current reality. And nothing more. And so to be constrained by any of the facts of the past that may or may not be true in the moment, right? That's a mindset. That's a way of being. That's any agile team's way of not only surviving but thriving in one of the most highly competitive worlds that known to mankind, right? That things happen. I've seen your shit out back, and the number of engineers you've got sitting behind, the number of computers and the monitoring, right? We're talking about precision.
Oh yeah.
And so that mindset of evolution, yesterday's truth's absolutely today's lie. We swore we'd never do this on race day, yet today we're doing it, right? Because there are no absolutes.
Yeah.
That's where the experience, that's where your story around, that's why it was, to me, important that everybody hears it, right? You cut your teeth for 5 years on a gritty team. You went with another team that went back, like a lot of problems, a lot of struggle, a lot of turmoil, adversity, let's say, and, so what were the consistents? Your mindset. To me, your mindset was consistent. You knew you were going there, and nothing's going to get in the way of it. It didn't matter if it was in Charlotte or in London or Australia. I've known you long enough to know that that's always going to be the case.
Sure.